Now, one of the reasons you might feel guilty or struggle with the idea of resting might be to do with the way you think about it. You see, if you see rest as being unproductive or lazy, then the chances of you making rest a priority are going to be very, very slim. Now, part of the reason for my struggle with rest over the years is that I used to be called lazy, which was viewed as being a bad thing. Now, the problem with this was that those people who were labeling me as being lazy didn't make the effort to actually determine whether I was just lacking motivation, struggling with anxiety, or whether I was even depressed. What were some of your highlights from last year? What were some of the challenges that you faced? What were some of the things that gave you joy? What did you learn? Now, these are all really, really important questions to consider at the start of the year, and for that matter, at any time of the year. And they're the kind of questions that I'd really encourage you to ask yourself on a regular basis. They're the types of questions that I frequently ask myself, and I also put to my clients from time to time to help them get insights that will hopefully encourage some self-awareness and increase personal growth. So in this video, I thought it might be helpful to share some of the things that I was reminded of last year that I think might be helpful for you to consider as you navigate these next few months and the whole year ahead of you. Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm a husband, dad, pops, coach and counsellor. And on this channel, I like to share tips and practical tools designed to help you improve your well-being and succeed in life. Now, if you're someone who's serious about managing stress, then I want to invite you to get access to a free lesson from my Stress to Success course. It's designed to help people just like you to achieve more with less stress. I'll leave a link to it in the description. So last year was definitely a mix of ups and downs. There were definitely things that made me happy and for which I'm grateful. But as with life, there were also some things that required a lot of emotional and mental energy. But that would probably be true for many of us. So with that said, let's get into the lessons and things that I was reminded of from last year that I think will be helpful for you. So I'm going to start by stating the not so obvious, that not everyone finds it easy to stop and rest. Now, whenever I've taken a break from work or I've been away on, say, a family holiday, it's always taken me a day or two to switch off, because the truth is, resting continues to be a challenge for me even to this day. And I find it's the same with some of my clients. Many of the high achievers that I work with share the same frustration with finding it hard, or in some cases uncomfortable, to slow down. They speak of having trouble staying present and connected with their spouse or their children after a day's work, or of not being good at stopping for long enough to recharge their own battery so that they can be running on all cylinders and feeling energized and alive and revitalized. And what they realize is that this can become a real problem. Now, like I said, I can honestly relate to this. Having personal experience with stress and burnout, I know the discomfort of feeling incapable of being present with loved ones, or of not being able to switch off and recharge. And in my case, it almost destroyed me and some of my closest relationships. So the first lesson that I want to share with you, which I was reminded of last year, is the importance of releasing the guilt that can so often be associated with the idea of resting. Now, one of the reasons you might feel guilty or struggle with the idea of resting might be to do with the way you think about it. You see, if you see rest as being unproductive or lazy, then the chances of you making rest a priority are going to be very, very slim. Now, part of the reason for my struggle with rest over the years is that I used to be called lazy, which was viewed as being a bad thing. Now, the problem with this was that those people who were labeling me as being lazy didn't make the effort to actually determine whether I was just lacking motivation, struggling with anxiety, or whether I was even depressed. Now, as a side note, be very, very careful not to label people, because one, you don't know their story, and two, you don't know what they're going through. Anyway, for me, this developed into a fear of being perceived as lazy, which led to me struggling with the idea of rest, because I then started to believe that I always needed to be busy and working hard. Now, lots happened for me in 2023 to remind me that my body and mind needed rest, and that it's okay to give them what they need without feeling guilty for doing nothing. So for me, this looked like mornings in bed rather than going to the gym, rescheduling appointments or cancelling events, and saying no to a lot more people and opportunities that came my way. So the first lesson I was reminded of from last year was to not feel guilty about rest. It's okay. Now, for this second lesson, allow me to contradict myself. So just as getting comfortable with the idea of rest can be a challenge, so too can the realization that progress, meaningful progress, requires hard work. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I hate hard work. I really do. But by hard work, I mean work that doesn't energize me, work that I don't feel motivated to complete, and work that doesn't excite me. Now, for me, this would include things like updating financial spreadsheets, responding to emails, and I'll throw in cutting the grass for good measure. Now, if there's anything that you don't like doing, leave a note in the comments because it'd just be funny to see what they are as well. Anyway, but what I've learned over the years is that to make progress in any area of life, there are always going to be things you need to do that don't excite you, energize you, or make you feel motivated. And you know what? That's okay. In fact, I think it's a good thing because it's often in those unlikable tasks, those roles and responsibilities where character is shaped and built and where you actually get to develop an ability to become resilient to difficult things. Now, just to be clear, what I'm not saying is that you need to go through life doing things that you don't like doing, because sadly, that's what so many people are doing on a day-to-day basis and why so many people on a day-to-day basis are so unhappy. And equally, what I'm also not saying is that the only way to achieve anything meaningful in life is to only do what you like doing. Life doesn't work that way, and there's always going to be things that you need to do. There's always going to be a bit of both, the likes and the dislikes. It's the approach you have to managing each that's really going to make a big difference to how you cope with your stress and how you navigate life. So the second lesson I was reminded of last year was to stop feeling resentful about the work I don't like doing. And this is because the reality is that there's always going to be things that need to be done that aren't really likable. And as I said before, unfortunately, that's just life. So my invitation to you is to do one of two things. One, either adjust your attitude towards a task you don't like doing, or find someone else who can do them for you. Okay, before we move on to the next lesson that I was reminded of from last year, let me ask you a quick question. How good are you at managing stress? Now, the reason I ask is because unmanaged stress can affect your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. Let me just scratch my chin. And in worst case scenarios, it can damage your relationships. So if you're serious about managing stress, I'd really invite you to get access to a free lesson from my Stress to Success course. It's a 6-session course designed to help busy people just like you to achieve more with less stress, but in a very strategic and systematic approach. I'll put a link to it in the description. Now back to the video. Right, now this may come as a surprise to you, but despite what you might think, therapists benefit from emotional support too. Now, I'm not just saying this because I offer counseling services. I actually do believe that everyone, regardless of their background, could benefit from working with a trained counselor or therapist. You see, I think there's something quite powerful about being able to connect with another human and feel able to talk about the things that are going through your mind without the fear of judgment, rejection, or being told what you should or shouldn't do. And by the way, that's the type of relationship that a good counselor is going to develop with you. Just saying. Now, we all know that relationships are never easy, but let's be honest, some are less easy than others. Now, the number of conversations I've had with clients over the last year or so about difficult relationships is easily in excess of thousands, which is just going to show that it's something that's more common than we probably realize. Family dynamics are really, really tough. And the more people are honest about that, the easier it will be for us to be able to navigate them. Now, as I mentioned, last year was a challenging one because alongside my day-to-day work, I was sitting with some pretty heavy emotional stuff that required a lot of emotional energy. But you see, having a strong support network made all the difference. Being able to speak with my supervisor about how what I was facing was showing up in my work, and with my counselor about how I was managing my emotions, was absolutely key. It was a lifesaver, in fact, alongside, of course, those in my personal network who I feel I can really be open and honest with, and who I can be confident that they'll offer me objective perspectives, even when what they say might feel uncomfortable. So that said, I want you to just take a minute to think about your personal network. Are there people in your life who you feel safe sharing what's on your heart and mind with without being concerned about judgment or rejection or being told what you should or shouldn't do? And of course, being objective. Now, if you do, brilliant. Be grateful for those people that you have and cultivate those relationships, because those people are a gift. Now, I'd really encourage you to take some time to think about the importance of being able to offload to people who you trust. And the reason why I'd encourage you to do this so strongly is because most people don't experience the benefits of resting and the reflection and learning that come with it. Let me know in the comments what you learned from last year, and if you found this video helpful, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one, and as always, rooting for you. Be well. So for a simple yet really powerful 3-step process for reflecting on your learning for a better chance of future success, watch this video.